Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Wynna Wong. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. John Lee announces an end to hotel quarantine for arrivals from Monday. Airline websites crash amid a rush to book flights to Japan as restrictions are eased and the yen weakens. And the death toll climbs as protests continue in Iran. After shutting its international borders for nearly 3 years, Hong Kong is finally reconnecting with the rest of the world. From Monday, there will be no more hotel quarantine for overseas arrivals. Janice Lowe reports.
Hong Kong's worst-kept secret became official today. Chief Executive John Lee announced that after nearly 3 years with some of the world's toughest COVID measures, the city is finally opening up its international border. The 3+4 system will be replaced by 0+3, in which hotel quarantine will become history from Monday. Inbound travelers will only have to undergo 3 days of medical surveillance, but they are barred from high-risk premises, such as restaurants and bars, until their code changes from amber to blue in the Leave Home Safe app. A rapid antigen test taken within 24 hours before boarding will replace the negative nucleic acid test obtained 48 hours prior to departure. On arrival, travelers can leave the airport instead of staying for their nucleic acid test results. Hong Kong residents are allowed to return to the city even if they are unvaccinated, but unlike other arrivals, they will not be given a temporary vaccine pass. The government is also lifting the quotas for those arriving under the Come to Hong Kong and Return to Hong Kong schemes. Lee said the government took into account the prevailing local COVID situation.
We want to introduce measures that we are confident of maintaining the control of the overall epidemic situation. We also want to ensure that as we progress, we can do it in an orderly manner. If there are positive developments as we progress, there will be more room for us to do extra measures.
A travel industry representative thinks the restrictions faced by Amber Code holders will discourage visitors.
Because compared to other international cities like Singapore, I guess especially business visitors, they might not be willing to coming over to Hong Kong for just work and cannot enjoy outside dining in the city, but just staying in the hotel rooms.
Wong expects the tourism industry to take at least 1 year to recover after a 3-year slump. Janice Lowe, HKIBC.
Hospital services that have been suspended will resume gradually as health officials believe the COVID epidemic appears to be under control. Hospital Authority Chief Manager Gladys Kwan said from tomorrow, 4 outpatient clinics will resume normal operations, but 8 designated clinics for COVID and the teleconsultation service will continue. Hong Kong today logged 5,387 cases, including 156 imported ones. There were 12 virus-related deaths. Another 255 COVID patients were admitted to hospital, taking the tally to about 2,220. Prices for tickets to Japan have skyrocketed after Tokyo abolished travel restrictions introduced at the start of the COVID pandemic. Hong Kongers also took advantage of a weaker yen and rushed to book their holidays. Chloe Feng reports.
Hong Kong travel agencies are finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel as countries and regions shake off their COVID shackles. Japan is among the latest, as Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said border restrictions will be eased from the 11th of next month in a bid to revive the battered tourism industry. Following his announcement, tickets for flights from Hong Kong to Japan went through the roof. An economy return trip to Tokyo soared to between $7,000 and $13,000. Indirect flights via Manila, for instance, cost about $5,000 to $6,000, almost 5 times more than pre-pandemic fares. Despite the higher price, seats were snapped up, but at some points, websites of airlines crashed because of heavy usage. Local travel agents believe the trend will continue as airlines have a limited number of additional flights. Hong Kong airline Cathay Pacific said it will increase flights to Tokyo and Osaka from next month. Hotels are also said to be heavily booked, but there's some solace for Hong Kong holidaymakers as the Japanese yen has plunged to a 24-year low. Taiwan, meanwhile, is aiming to end hotel quarantine from mid-October and easing other restrictions next week. And South Korea says from next week it will no longer be mandatory to wear a face mask outdoors. It scrapped pre-departure COVID test requirements for overseas travelers earlier this month. Chloe Fong, HKIBC.
The Hong Kong Tourism Board has welcomed the government's decision to scrap hotel quarantine for incoming travelers. Board Chairman Pang Yu-kai said the move will gradually help Hong Kong regain its status as a tourism hub. He said the return of business and leisure travelers will boost the hospitality and aviation industry, which were severely affected by the pandemic. Cathay Pacific intends to add around 100 passenger flights to regional and long-haul destinations next month. Sports fans can breathe a sigh of relief as the Rugby Sevens is set to return in November. But the organizers are worried about the cost of the closed-loop arrangements for overseas players and officials. Isaac Lee reports.
Local rugby players have started gearing up for the Sevens at the Hong Kong Stadium. One of Hong Kong's top sporting attractions returns on November the 4th. Players and officials from 15 overseas teams will be provided single-room hotel accommodation and placed under a closed-loop bubble during the 3-day events. It will be mandatory for all players, officials, event organizers, and hotel staff to take PCR tests every day. There will be special transport arrangements for players to attend training sessions and to travel to matches and return to the hotel. The Hong Kong Rugby Union is still negotiating on such arrangements as quarantine measures were eased today.
It's expensive. One thing I would have to say, the additional costs to the union of implementing a closed-loop model are very significant. So, again, we would hope that going forward we're not going to have to do this again in April.
McRobbie said a bigger tournament will be staged in April. Spectators will have to use the Leave Home Safe app to enter the stadium and wear a mask at all times. They can drink, but eating is currently banned.
We have proposed several concepts to address concerns, including creating socially distanced food courts inside or adjacent to the stadium during the event, which we believe are feasible. But it does remain a possibility that no in-seat or concourse level food service will be available.
Only 34,000 spectators will be allowed into the 40,000-seat stadium. Half the tickets have already been sold to members or supporters of the union, while the remainder will be available online from next Thursday. They will cost $1,950 each, the same as in 2019, before COVID forced the cancellation of the tournament for 3 years. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
A former deputy security minister on the mainland has been given a suspended death sentence for corruption charges. Sun Li-jun was found guilty of manipulating the stock market and taking bribes, among other offenses. A court in Changchun heard that he illegally collected around 650 million yuan in cash and abused his official position to help a trader avoid losses. His sentence comes 1 day after former Justice Minister Fu Zhenghua received the same punishment for similar charges. Meanwhile, a man in Hebei province has been sentenced to 24 years in prison for leading the brutal beating of 4 women at a barbecue restaurant in the city of Tangshan. Chen Jizhi was identified as the prime culprit of the incident that shocked the country in June. He's also been fined 320,000 yuan. He and 27 others are accused of attacking the women with chairs and wine bottles after Chen harassed them. Other defendants were jailed for between 6 months and 11 years. Violent protests have continued in Iran, with state television saying the death toll has risen to 26, while rights groups claim it is as high as 36. More videos of protesters clashing with police are emerging. Scenes include torched police stations and women burning their headscarves. Protesters in parts of Tehran and Kurdistan have reported an internet blackout, restricting their ability to keep in contact. The outrage comes after a 22-year-old woman died while in custody of Iran's morality police over a hijab rule. The Hong Kong stock market has slumped to a fresh 11-year low, with the Hang Seng Index shedding 1.2% as the impact of the latest U.S. interest rate hike persists. But there was good news for travel-related stocks after the government scrapped hotel quarantine. Chinese online travel agency Trip.com jumped 5.1%. The city's flagship carrier, Cathay Pacific, gained 1%. With Japan welcoming individual travelers again, EGL Holdings, which mainly hosts tours to the popular destination, gained more than 36%. A look at the markets now. The Hang Seng Index closed down 214 points. Top 10 active stocks: Tencent down $8, Alibaba down $2.45. AIA down 55 cents, JD down $7.20. In foreign exchange rates, the euro is at 7.65, British pound at 8.68, Canadian dollar at 5.81. In foreign markets, the UK FTSE is down 135 points. The cancellation of hotel quarantine has come too late to stop Hong Kong losing its status as Asia's top financial center to Singapore. The city-state overtook Hong Kong and is now third in the Global Financial Centers Index, while the SAR slipped to fourth. New York tops the list, followed by London. In response, the Hong Kong government noted that its ranking in the development category has improved, while people in the financial sector are confident of the city's future competitiveness. Finally, the weather. Sunny intervals with a few showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. Temperatures will range from 26 and 31 degrees. Sunny periods on Sunday and cloudy next week. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. And that's our main news for Friday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Wynna Wong. Thanks for watching. Good night.